Hello and welcome to the inaugural edition of Common Sense Homestead. Today we're just going to take a leisurely stroll through our top little garden area here. We're going to sort of go over what this channel is, why we're making it, what we hope to accomplish, what you can expect from us. Hello chickens. Common Sense Home, we are a micro homestead. We have around 2 acres that we will be able to cultivate over time. Right now, a large portion of it we have not gotten to yet. We wanted to start the channel sort of in the orphan phase. As we go through it, we can show people where we start and kind of where we go from there. So as a community, we can sort of grow together. We call this our old garden. When we first moved in here, I believe it was 5 years ago now, down there where the greens are located, that was the only garden that was on the property. It was grown up at the time. Since then, we've sort of expanded and terraced it out a little bit. One thing you'll notice about all of our gardens, and one of the challenges that we face, is everything is on a slope. Some of them more drastic than others, so we do use terracing a little bit. We do have these boxes here that we put. It keeps the chickens out of the gardens. They can do their dust bathing in there, so we found that if we invite them, if we give them a place to do it, they don't tear everything else up as much. Over here is these are coral honeysuckle. We were advised that the roots of the honeysuckle survived the chickens digging really well, so we built these little boxes and put the honeysuckle in them. It's done great. We fill them up once a year. In the early spring, the chickens get their dust bathings and they stay out of my garden for the most part, unless there's straw, of course. That's why you'll notice if there's tomatoes, which are all of the little areas that are fenced off will be tomatoes. We put straw around the tomatoes, obviously, for obvious reasons, to keep moisture in, weeds out, etc. We'll go over more in depth of what we have here, but you can tell everything's pretty small. We do have some onions coming up. Cucumbers are coming up already. We have peppers and some summer squash down there. And then we have all of our cherry tomatoes in that bottom row. Below that, we have a lot of our greens. They seem to do really well in that little shade down there for the summer. So we really enjoy that just for the greens. Then we have, we put these in this summer, so we'll see how they do. The chickens, it's a battle with them. We don't know. We know they don't eat cucumbers or onions and that sort of stuff, but we're always looking for something they don't. I put the bigger box down there, you'll see with the poles next to them. I put in some golden wax beans, which are some of my personal favorite beans. They're difficult to find, or at least they were for me this year. I really wanted to grow them, put them in the ground, turned around, and the chickens had stripped the leaves off. So we're going to see how that goes. If not, I'll put in some pole beans or something along the way. So Leslie's got some of her flowers all the way through here. We have rosemary, spearmint. There's some mint in there. The bees love a lot of these flowers. That's another thing that we have a lot of, is a lot of things that we plant are for the bees. So kind of back to what this video is about, the sort of the origin video of what we're doing. All the stuff that we're growing now is heirloom, so that we can preserve our own seeds. We can plant them next year. We'll know what works, what doesn't work. We're experimenting with a lot of things, crop rotations, things that we're not real familiar with. We do a lot of research. We talk to our master gardeners here in Pope County. We get a lot of advice from them, at the co-op stores, that sort of thing. There are a few YouTube channels that are also in Zone 7. We take some of their videos, but the truth that we found, anyway, our truth, is that not everything works for everybody in every area. Again, like I said, we do have some challenges that other people don't have. The slopes, our yard runs long ways, and it faces south, so the tree line down there is directly south. So in the early spring, only the top portion of our yard gets sun. So we have to kind of take that in mind when we position specific fruits or vegetable gardens, that sort of thing. Right here you can see we put these blackberries in to sort of, this all ran off all the way. It was just one big mud pit really, not too many moons ago, but we put in this little berm, brought in all this dirt, planted these blackberries to sort of hold it in place. You can see up there we've got many mounds of mulch they were just ground up, you know, tree stuff from a tree service. A friend of the family's had brought over. We did some research on it. We were advised to let it sit for about 18 months, which is now. So we're going to start using it. So after we get done, one of the things we want to do, once we've kind of perfected how to grow, how to get the most out of the area that we've done, we've able to build all of the raised beds that we want from a gardening standpoint. We want to become proficient in 3 or 4 vegetables in a larger garden that we'll show later on. We put it in last year. It's still a work in progress, but over the next couple of years, we're hoping to be able to mass produce a few things that will sell well at our local farmers market. We'll use that money along with the money that we sell from our chicken eggs to sort of put back into homestead here. And eventually working our way down, the things that we would like to do is we have a spot that I would like to sort of put in an apple, I don't know if you call it an orchard. I believe I have enough room down there to put in 12 specific apple trees, which so I can make ciders and that sort of thing out of. But and we would also like to get goats. We have enough room, I think, to where we could breed goats for milk. I'd love to learn how to make cheese, that sort of thing. We're also eventually going to make mead to go along, and you know, our bees, we got them this year. We have them up there. They're going to be a lot of fun. We'll put in our inspections of our bees and, you know, retrieving our honey. Another one of our early projects that we'll probably show on the channel is going to be actually making a batch of mead. So, you know, you want to do, before we start using our really good honey from our own bees, I want to try and make sure that I know the process for making mead. So I got a gallon of just some local or some 100% honey from one of the stores here. I made sure it was real honey. Apparently that's something you have to watch out for. So so down here, I'm rambling, but we sowed this with wildflowers this year. One of the things Leslie really wants to do is see what flowers, wildflowers preferably, do well in different spots of the yard. I think that was something that if we can grow them prolifically, we'll be able to sell those also at a farmer's market. They seem to do really well, bouquets, flowers, that sort of thing in our area, at our local farmer's market. So, and a good buddy of ours brought Les these 3 pumpkin plants. And we didn't have anywhere else for them, so we thought, you know what, we'll throw pumpkins in with a bunch of wildflowers and we'll see what happens. So that'll be something interesting. We've never grown pumpkins before. These here we had to put in the fence because if not, the chickens will dig in the straw, and we wanted to use our potatoes with the straw. So these are, I think we got a little overzealous and put our potatoes maybe a little too close together. I'm sure we're going to make more than one mistake like that, but I'm not sure. But we had a buddy of mine who's come over and look at everything. He's grown potatoes for many moons, and he said, well, you put them a little close together, but they look good besides that. The back row are our beefsteak tomatoes. The front row over here is our Rutgers tomatoes. We have more tomatoes coming out of the greenhouse, so you can tell what I did was I spaced them out, and then in about 6 weeks I want to add another like round of tomatoes. That way hopefully they come off at different times. So I want to try canning tomatoes this year, and I want to try freezing them to try to see. I've heard people tell me freezing, if you're going to eat them within 9 months, is a better taste than canning. I'm not sure if I believe that yet or not, but we'll find out. Let's see, these front 3 plants here are Russian kale. Leslie and I have recently discovered that we enjoy kale, so we're going to see how that does in here, and then once we get all of the raised beds done next year, we'll probably try them in there. That seems to be a better place to grow them. And that is white chard, and behind it is the red chard. Swiss chard, I believe, is what the red chard is referred to often. We really enjoy chard as well. perhaps I know a lot of people in our area anyway are not familiar with chard or how to cook it, so I might go through and do a video on how we do that. These mounds through here, we are just experimenting with putting some summer squash up here this year. That is also something that will probably be eventually in the big garden. Those rows down there are like 40 foot. They're 4 foot wide by 40 foot, so it seems like it might be, with them taking up as much room, it might be better to put them down there. And then we have, these are our pickling cucumbers. Leslie and I love to pickle, so she makes some of the best cold water pickles I've ever had. She learned from my grandmama, and so now she sort of has taken on that mantle. We had a few extra cucumber plants, so I put them along that fence. I'm not sure how well that's going to work out, but we'll try that. And then on the back side, excuse me, over here we just have another one of these boxes that we have. We filled it with compost, kind of mulched the top a little bit, and we're putting more flowers in there for the pollinators. We'll do bee inspection tours. Need to trim up all these roses. The winter kind of hitting them up. We'll do bee inspections. We'll do how-to meads. You know, another thing that I really enjoy doing is cooking. And so I like to cook with fresh food. I like to put away fresh food. We're still novices at the canning and versus freezing and that sort of thing. So, you know, that'll be a journey we can all take together. Kind of learn how to, like what's the best way to can. There are several different ways to can, and that you can tell that is in the progress. We covered it in leaves this past year, and we went through, took out rock. I mean, there are more rocks. I'm not sure if you can see how many are in this little border that we've been putting in there, but we have a little 5-gallon bucket we keep up here, and about, I don't know, once a month we'll come out and have a few beverages and just pick up rocks, and that's all you do all day. I think this pretty much grows rocks, maybe. It feels that way for sure, but we're putting a bunch of nitrogen fixing things in here. We cover it with leaves. Into this year we plan on just covering the whole thing with straw and putting out some winter wheat, probably the end of, I don't know, August. From what I heard, it grows real fast. You can cut it down, and then hopefully we can turn this into another one of our no-till gardens. But right now we have to take the tiller through it. There's just to get the rocks out. So it's in its infancy stages as far as a garden is concerned. But we do anticipate, corn seems to grow really well out here. Bush beans, all of the nitrogen fixing things. We've never tried the purple hull peas, but we were told that they should also thrive. So we've got these top 2 rows done. We're trying this year to sort of plant in stages. So today is March 2nd, I believe. So around probably the last week of March, we will plant the last 3 rows. We'll do those in bush beans as well. And well, actually we'll do a whole row of okra because we love pickled okra. And then we'll do 2 nitrogen rows. We'll put in probably another thing of purple hull peas and some bush beans. Try to stage out when you have to do all the canning and picking purple hull peas. I love them, but shelling them is not the most fun thing in the world. So anyway, so that pretty much wraps up what we were going to talk about in this very first video. You know, there are a few things down the road that we may towards the end of the summer when we have a bit more time. You know, I'm a big fan of MMO video games. I think there's one coming out into this year. I might try, and if it's any good, I might put it on the channel. I'm a huge fan of the Wheel of Time series, the book series, and Amazon has a show coming out, so I may do some reviews on that. That market is pretty saturated. But you know what? I enjoy it, and if nothing else, maybe I can, you know, just introduce some new people to it or whatever. So, but we appreciate you watching. If you have not, please like the video, subscribe, hit the little bell so that you'll know whenever we're done. That really helps us grow. With this being our first one, any comments or likes or shares that you can give would go a long way. But we appreciate you folks watching, and we'll catch you next time at Common Sense Homestead.